You know, that dream of building your own e-commerce business, it's got to be one of the biggest opportunities of our time, right? It's that promise of financial freedom, of being your own boss, and maybe, just maybe, hitting that life-changing exit. But let's be honest, there is so much conflicting advice out there. So, how do you actually separate the hype from the real strategy that works? And this is the line. This is the siren song that pulls so many of us in. The idea that there's this one magical winning product out there, and it's the only thing standing between you and a totally different life. I mean, it's an incredibly powerful thought, and it's pretty much the foundation of all that get-rich-quick e-commerce advice you see everywhere online. But then you see this number, 90%. And this isn't just a guess. This comes from Shopify's own internal data. It's the failure rate for new stores. Most of them don't even make it past their first year. So clearly there is a massive gap between the dream and what's actually happening on the ground. So what's going on here? If all the common advice leads to a 90% failure rate, what's the actual secret? What do that successful 10% know about money, about people, and about strategy that everyone else seems to be missing? Okay, so let's just dive right in and tackle the biggest myth head-on, the winning product. The belief that your entire success hinges on finding that one perfect item, well, it's a trap. And honestly, it's exactly where most new entrepreneurs go completely wrong. And you've seen the playbook, right? It seems so logical. You're told to brainstorm with AI, look for expensive stuff you see every day, spy on your competitors, check Google Trends. I mean, these are all common tactics, but the problem is they completely miss the fundamental shift that's already happened in the world of e-commerce. And here it is. This is the first major secret. The game has completely changed. Back in the early days of the internet, yeah, you could sell almost anything. But today, customers are way smarter. They're more skeptical, and frankly, they've been burned before. Winning is no longer about what you sell, it's about whether people trust you enough to actually buy it. Just look at the difference here. This slide lays it out perfectly. The old product game is all about commodities. I sell skincare. It's generic. But the new trust game, it's about solving a specific problem for a specific person. I help men in their 30s feel confident in 60 seconds a day. See? One is just a product, the other is a promise. It's a story the customer can actually see themselves in. All right, so let's say you get it. You've shifted your mindset from just selling products to building trust. Awesome. But the next big trap is totally misunderstanding the money. So let's break down the real cost of making a sale. And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. Revenue feels like winning, for sure. Seeing thousands of dollars hitting your Stripe account, it's a rush. But revenue is not profit. And confusing those two is an absolutely fatal mistake for any new business. Okay, so let's do the math. Let's get real for a second. You have a great month. You bring in $3,000 in sales. That feels incredible. But then you have to subtract the cost of the products themselves. Then you subtract what you spent on ads to get those sales. Then you factor in the inevitable refunds and chargebacks, and all the little fees and shipping costs. And all of a sudden, that exciting $3,000 shrinks down to a very sobering $300 in actual take-home profit. This is the math that quietly crushes most new stores. So, how in the world do you actually make money then? The answer is this thing called lifetime value, or LTV. This is the metric that changes everything. You have to stop focusing on the profit from a single sale and start focusing on the total profit you make from a customer over their entire relationship with your brand. This is why building a brand that earns repeat business isn't just a nice to have, it's literally the only way to build a profitable company. And once you start thinking about LTV, it completely changes how you approach marketing. I mean, if your goal is to build relationships for high LTV, then your marketing can't just be about getting cheap clicks. It has to be about acquiring real, loyal customers who are going to stick around. Now, the typical advice tells you to go after people who are ready to buy right now. You're targeting those bottom-of-the-funnel customers with super specific Google ads, you're sending cold emails, you're lurking in niche Facebook groups. Look, these methods can work, but they're expensive, they're competitive, and they don't build a sustainable, long-term asset for your business. But here's the absolute key. Ads get you attention, sure, but they don't build trust on their own. Trust comes from something much more fundamental, familiarity. Our brains are literally wired to trust what we recognize. I mean, think about it. The more you see a brand, the more you just inherently start to trust it. It's human nature. And how do you build that familiarity at scale? Well, you do it with content. And the data here from HubSpot is just, wow.
Brands that consistently put out educational, helpful content generate 67% more leads. Why? It's because that content pre-sells the trust. It warms up your audience, it answers their questions, and it lowers their guard long before you ever even ask for the sale.
Okay, so let's say things are clicking. You're building trust, you're profitable. Awesome. Now what? It's time to grow. But the next big question is how you scale. Do you just do more of what you're already doing, or is there a smarter way to go about it?
Well, the usual advice is just do more. This is the more approach. You can scale vertically, which just means pouring more money into ads for the products that are already working, or you can scale horizontally by adding a bunch of new products to your store. Both of these are basically about just spending more money to get more volume. Brute force.
But check this out. This is the smarter way. This stat from McKinsey is mind-blowing. Instead of just spending more money to get more customers, what if you just got more value from the customers who are already visiting your site? A tiny 1% improvement in your conversion rate, that's just one more person out of every 100 buying, can boost your profits by a massive 10% or more. See? That's what smart scaling is all about. It's not about brute force, it's about efficiency and leverage. You focus on optimizing your website, improving your checkout flow, and refining your offer to get more from the effort you're already putting in. That's the path to a truly profitable, sustainable business. All right, let's tie this all together. Let's talk about the big dream, that $1 million exit. How do all these ideas, trust, smart math, efficient scaling, how do they actually lead to that life-changing number? You know, the math on this is surprisingly straightforward. E-commerce businesses usually sell for a multiple of their annual profit, typically around 4x. So to sell your store for $1 million, you need to be generating about $250,000 in pure take-home profit each year. And if you break that down, it's just under 21 grand a month, or about $700 in profit every single day. And that's the point of this whole thing. That $1 million valuation, it's not a lottery ticket. You don't win it by stumbling upon some lucky product. It is the logical outcome of a deliberate process. It's the result of building a real, sustainable asset that's based on trust, solid math, and smart optimizations that compound over time. So I'll leave you with this question. Are you approaching e-commerce like it's a slot machine, just pulling the lever over and over again, hoping a winning product finally hits the jackpot? Or are you methodically, patiently, and intelligently building a real asset? Because in the end, that choice, it makes all the difference.